The good news is professional Chris Whittingham is in place with what looks like an artistic and beautiful set on the Radio Row set. It is wonderful. Mike, what are you pointing to?
It's Chris Whittingham and some guy in the shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
His right shoulder.
Yeah, the right shoulder of some guy and Chris Whittingham.
Politely just asked him to evacuate.
That guy has had more airtime today than Chris Cody, who we paid to be out there but still doesn't have his media credential. Whittingham, can you tell me, just irresponsibly, before we get to Jerry Springer, we got Ryan Leaf today, Devonta Smith, we've got Kurt Warner today, and we've got huge, huge news that I am hoping Stugotz has not yet heard, but I believe he will react to it in a way, if he has not heard it, that is going to create a great deal of excitement. But Whittingham, can you just explain to me why Meadowlark spent all this money and Chris Cody is still outside of headquarters and doesn't have his credential yet?
They will be here momentarily. Both he and Tony they have not been to Radio Row yet. And so the Credential Center does not open until 8 a.m. Pacific.
Right.
So they should be here very promptly because they should be getting their credentials now and on their way. We nearly went yesterday. That would have been the responsible thing, but Chris Cody forgot his vaccine card, and so you're not able to pick up your credentials
Of
without your
course.
vaccine card.
So he found it? I mean...
Yes.
He found it
Thankfully,
in
we're good to
LA,
go
or-
today on that front.
Wait, he lost it and then found it already?
It is so him, man. Billy, you just threw
They've
up.
been there since Monday. I mean...
He's just incompetent.
Barely since Monday. Chris Cody flew out after the show. Like he got in like at 8:30
Don't make
p.m.
excuses
Pacific.
for him.
I'm trying to. I mean,
No.
to be fair,
We
did go several places that
Don't
were
be fair. I don't care.
mind inhibiting, perhaps.
Right.
Okay, mind
But
inhibiting.
he didn't go to the
fairness?
place that gets him his credential. I mean...
You went to places that were mind expanding, not mind inhibiting.
Oh, good shout.
Let's get back to. We'll have content from there. Hopefully, if Chris Cody doesn't fail and flail some more. But we've been offered any number of guests from Radio Row. We turned down most of them, but we're not turning down a guy who appears in 10 minutes. Jerry Springer is going to join us.
Jerry.
Let's do that when he comes on to greet him.
Oh, I'm sure it's
He
never
hates
happened.
that for sure.
Yeah,
So let's do it.
we're so innovative.
Former mayor of Cincinnati. Yes, former mayor of Cincinnati and
Yeah, him
proud
and Sean Casey.
Bengals.
The Natty.
Proud Bengals fan and revolutionizer of television. Stugotz, here is the news that I have for you.
Okay.
Beginning February 16th, right around the corner, 2 days after Valentine's Day, on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
on ESPN, on First Take, opposite Stephen A. Smith.
What?
You haven't heard this?
No.
Chris Mad Dog Russo.
Oh, my God.
Shut up!
That's gonna be great. That's all he's going to say.
Yes, that's going
Keep
to
your mouth shut! Your son got nailed. Keep your freaking mouth shut!
If you wanted something that was older and more New York than what's already being served to you in your face every day that is super old in New York, we bring you Stephen A. Smith opposite Chris Mad Dog Russo.
Framegate my Keep your... Shut up!
We have to cancel our show that day.
We
right?
do. Start
or
later.
do like
Yes.
a watch along or
Yes.
something.
We should
Stay
do,
low.
We should do
Only that.
I
Like
mean,
nothing
fireworks,
else. Yeah,
Dad.
no one's gonna listen to us that day. Or
Shut
any
the hell
Wednesday.
up!
We should,
Framegate.
We should do a watch along. I am disgusted by people who would just make it about louder splashes on television. Jerry Springer in 5 minutes.
Shut up! Put that guy on. See if he's got the guts to talk to somebody who's going to ask him a tough question. Go ahead. Better yet, put his son on.
How's that going to be bad?
Let's see what he has to say. Put your son on.
He's not going to back down from Stephen A.
No.
The days of people backing down from Stephen A., that one's not going to happen there. This is the revolution. Mad Dog's getting back in the game. Mad Dog's had his own channel for a while. Mad Dog broke away from Francesa. Francesa, till the very end, got laughed at for falling asleep at the microphone. But Mad Dog Russo is making a reinvention, a comeback, brought to you by ESPN.
How about Havlicek? That's basketball.
Hondo.
My God almighty. You know what Jordan would do? After night. Played his ass off. You know, he'd taken trains to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and run into the ball game because the train is late and they played the night before in Boston.
Good luck, Stephen A.
I mean, is your limited fake Stephen A around? I would love to hear him argue here with Mad Dog Russo just to see what it is that we're bracing for February 16th.
John Havlicek is one of my very good friends. I've watched him play when I was a youngster myself growing up in New York. But you mean to tell me that he can hold a candle to LeBron James? Oh, I'm disgusted by you, Mad Dog.
How about Havlicek?
How about him?
Ran 8 miles every game.
Ran 8 miles every game.
Howell played from 1963 to 1979.
That's right, and you know why? Do you know why he quit? Because after the ABA merger, all them brothers came from the ABA. He couldn't handle it.
16 freaking years. Every single game.
Now, Mad Dog, I hear what you're saying, and I, for one, am nonplussed.
You think Havlicek's taking a night off?
You got to let him build up, Mike. You got to let him build up. You got don't get in Stephen A. Smith's way as he's building up.
Russo can,
though. No. As he builds up, he better not. From as he builds up from whispering to loud, you got to stay out of the way. Is Russo going to respect that? Do you think he's going to respect it? I don't.
Havlicek.
Ryan Leaf will be on with us a little bit later. Devonta Smith, as I said, and Kurt Warner as well. I did want to ask you before Jerry Springer came on, Stugotz. You've heard Whittingham whimper about watching Ryan Tannehill with the Tennessee Titans be better than he ever was with the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering what you think Detroit Lions fans are feeling right now as they see that, if not the most popular player in Lions history, and it's a franchise that's done epic losing in a salary cap sport where quality is baked into the rules, the Detroit Lions never win. Never win 70 years, never win anything.
Right.
Stafford is their second most popular player. Is it Barry Sanders than him? The most popular player in
Megatron?
I don't know if Megatron is popular, though.
What?
With Detroit fans, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, he is.
He's one of the. He was. They both quit.
Megatron never really frustrated Lions fans, Stafford to a degree because of circumstances, and his general reckless style of play did frustrate them occasionally.
I can make the argument that Stafford is the most popular Lion ever to have not quit during his career.
I'll accept that.
Because it's Megatron and it's Barry Sanders. But how do they feel about that? I'm asking you genuinely, how do you think, are Detroit Lions fans happy because he's the one they didn't make quit? Because at the very end, they knew he was kind of great and wasn't really the problem.
Right.
And so they root for him a little bit.
I think if you're a fan of Matthew Stafford, sorry, Mike, I think you feel good for Stafford, you're probably rooting for him. I think if you just, if you're kind of indifferent on Stafford and just care about the Lions, yeah, you had a quarterback that you were capable of getting to a Super Bowl with. You had him, in on your team for many, many years, and you couldn't put together a good enough roster to get that team to a Super Bowl. I think that's how you feel.
I've seen several videos of Lions fans celebrating Matthew Stafford on social media.
Right.
It's been a thing. A lot of Lions fans wearing their Stafford jerseys. I mean, their failings over his time there wasn't because of him. He actually brought them to highs that they hadn't experienced prior to.
I'm so sorry I've wasted this man's time. He's been waiting for us, and I don't know whether he would love or hate the introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. So do it anyway, because we're all happy to see.
I don't want to do this.
We're happy to see his face. He probably hates it. Do you think he hates it?
He hates it.
No, he can't.
Let's find out.
No, Jerry.
We're so hokey. Jerry. He's covering his ears, man.
Jerry.
He does hate it. it.
Jerry, he does hate
You're
it.
that show now. Are you
I
happy?
apologize, Jerry. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Actually, my wife now says they should start chanting my address so I know how to get home. Jerry helps. At my age, I forget things. So, yeah. But hey, thanks for having me on. And you're not wasting my time. I got nothing to do.
You got Judge Jerry. You got it airs Monday through Friday. Check your local listings. You got the Bengals in the Super Bowl. You used to run Cincinnati. Do you still run Cincinnati?
I don't run Cincinnati anymore. I'm not sure I ever ran it. I was mayor, but I'm not sure I ran it. But those were great years. We've gone 31 years without a Super Bowl. And I was lucky because I was there at the time during the 70s and 80s when we had the big red machine in baseball. And twice in the 80s, we went to the Super Bowl, both very competitive games. In fact, 89, as you know, we lost in the last 34 seconds or something. So it was Cincinnati was known for most of the country, either from that TV show, KRP in Cincinnati, or because of the Reds and Bengals. But that's the only thing people really knew of Cincinnati if you weren't from there. So the city just all of a sudden comes alive. And it's going through that right now. It's really exciting for us.
What's the most improbable part of your story? A huge television run that revolutionized loud entertainment television, or becoming the mayor of Cincinnati?
Well, I'm most proud, I guess, of being the mayor. That was the best job I ever had. And the TV show, it's given me a wonderful life and it's great fun to do, but I'd like to formally apologize to the American people. I have ruined the culture, I just never thought that someone from my show would become president. Sorry, guys. Or at least could have been on my show. But no, so it's, being mayor was the best job. I mean, that's a great job. If you like politics, and I do, so that was it.
I want to talk to you about that in a second, but I have not heard, and perhaps I'm just ignorant here, I did not realize that you apologized for what you were arguing for on behalf of at the time, which is, look, it's just entertainment. Who cares that it's coarse? Who cares that it's lowest common denominator? I'm getting big ratings because I'm putting people fighting on television. You have remorse about that now.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, I joke when I say I apologize because the show was, entertaining, but it's stupid. And I said so at the time. I mean, I never said, my argument was the reason people are opposed to it was really a class distinction. There was nothing that was on television that any adult didn't know existed. I mean, anything that's we ever had on our show is in Shakespeare, is in literature, is in the Bible. I mean, so we weren't, what was new is we had never seen that on television because most American television at the time was upper middle class white people. And if you were an African American, you wound up on one of the side networks. You weren't on a major network until Cosby came along, and even then, you had to be a doctor living in the suburbs. So it was. Think of the shows which were popular at the time: Seinfeld, Friends, Frasier. I mean, all these people were well-scrubbed white people who had upper incomes or pretty close to upper incomes. And along comes our show, and we see a slice of America that everyone knows existed. You can walk down any street in America, and by the time I get to the next red light, I've got 20 shows. Everyone's got a story that could appear on the show. So I was defending that, but I never thought that, it was like chewing gum. It won't kill you. But it's not going to make you a better person either by watching it. It was just entertainment, and I was hired to be the host of the show, and I had fun. I'm not denying that at all, but I never thought it was an important show. No, never.
But at the beginning of the show's run, it was more of the Donahue vein. It was a much more serious show. So would you say the line of demarcation would be the executive producer, Richard Dominican, hired?
Yeah, well, he was very creative, and that's what really changed the show. But it really happened before that. Oh, in the beginning, I was hired because the company that owned the Phil Donahue show also owned the network, the station where I did the news. And Phil was getting close to retirement. So they took me to lunch one day and said, we're starting a new talk show. You're going to host it. So basically, I was that replacement. And then about 3 years in, remember in the early 80s, all the talk shows were trying to be like Oprah. There were 20 talk shows on the air. And every one of the shows tried to appeal to the demographic at the time, which we called middle-aged housewives. All the shows were going after that, including ours. But then along came Ricky Lake, and she really had the first talk show that went after the kids, young people, high school, college age. And so then I remember walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago with Richard Dominic, and I said, why are we trying to be 1 out of 20 shows appealing to Oprah's audience? Why not go after Ricky's audience, appeal to young people, and then we'll only be 1 out of 2. We'll get a much larger piece of the pie. And so the very next day, we said, from now on, only young people on the show, young people in the audience, young subject matter. Well, young people are much wilder and crazier than the rest of us. And so that's when the show started to go wild. Universal bought us and said, from now on, you can only do wild. So if you called us with a warm, uplifting story, we weren't allowed to put you on. We had to send you to another show. We could only do crazy. And that's when it took off, of course.
Jerry, do you have beef with Povich?
Oh, no. He's a phenomenal golfer beyond anything else. He's a scratch golfer. No, we all tape out of the same studio. And, Wilkos, Maury, and myself. And no, you see, that's the thing. When you're in the talk show business, you're never really competing against any one show because we're all syndicated. So in some markets, he's my lead-in. So of course, I would very selfishly want him to do well. But he's a nice guy. So
Jerry, the both of you were belching evil and poison, and you saw the divide in America 30 years before the rest of us. And I wonder if you have any regret about how it is minorities were represented on television, because you were taking television, making it louder, coarser by design, and you got ratings by putting minorities on television with stories that were amazing television, but not the best representation on minorities.
Yeah, but no group was. In other words, the show was about dysfunctional behavior. So even though most of our guests were white, Appalachian, lower income white people, no one ever says, oh, you're showing white people as bad. It's interesting how what we remember is that a Hispanic person or an African-American was bad. Anyone on that show was on because they were dysfunctional. Yeah, but, no one, I'll tell you what, you could have the very same story, somebody cheating on their spouse, being on drugs, whatever. And if those very same people who were rich and white and famous that would appear on late night television, trying to sell their albums and their movies and whatever, and we cheer them. We can't see enough of them. We buy their books. We buy their movies. We go to their movies, and they have the exact same behavior as the people on our show, except they're not beautiful, or they're not wealthy, or they're not. So as I said, it wasn't that, we never say these celebrities are being shown as bad people. We say, oh, we can't have enough of it. We just love it. And we buy the magazines or whatever, or see on social media their lives. We follow the Kardashians. But, the Kardashians are beautiful. But some of the behavior is not much different, is it?
You have to win a contest, a weird game show we're playing where Jerry Springer has to tell the story that left him covered in the most film as he left the studio and went to told his wife. Today was the dirtiest. Today I felt like I was really close to selling my soul for the almighty ratings. Which
actually jumped in the shower when you got home.
Which is the day you remember?
Well, the two different. One was a serious show and one was a ridiculous show. The serious show was when we had the neo-Nazis on. And, I lost my family in the Holocaust, so they went after me and my mom and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of lost it. And it was this family who was raising their kids to be racist. And, and then he went after me. And so that, I remember being depressed with that. But of course, we weren't allowed to have any censorship on our show. We'd bleep out words that you can't at that time say on television. But other than that, there was no censorship. So I couldn't then complain just because they were coming after me when we permit all other kinds of, conversation on the show or behavior. So that was that. But the other one was the guy who married his horse. And but you'll be happy to know I came out
That's
against
some range,
that in
Maury.
my final thought. In fact, we did a follow-up show because
Jerry,
the horse left.
that's fine.
The horse left him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, the guy lived in
got
Branson, about 30 miles outside of Branson, Missouri. And when we went to visit his home, the hallways inside the home were extra wide because the horse lived in his home.
Of course.
And her name was Pixel, by the way. Let's give her name. But I'll tell you what happened on that show. I was never allowed to know what the show was about. I always carried around a card, but all the card had on it were the names of the guests. And then I would have to start every segment with introducing the guests and then saying, so what's going on? And then my job was to make jokes about what was going on, but I never knew the subject matter. And so this particular segment started out with this guy, I'll say his name was Bob. I don't remember what his name was, but he's about a 45-year-old man sitting in a chair on the desk, on the stage. And I say, Bob, what's going on? And he says, the neighbors don't like my wife. And I say, well, what's wrong with her? He says, nothing's wrong with her. She keeps to herself. She's nice. She's quiet, etc. Well, this is boring. So I look at the card, look at the next guest. The next guest says, Pixel. Well, let's meet your wife. Here's Pixel. Out comes this horse. Now, I'm thinking what any relatively normal human being would think, that poor Pixel fell off a horse. For some reason, she was, maybe she was a cowgirl and she was coming out on her horse. So I said, stop the cameras. What, is she all right? And Richard Dominic, the executive producer, said, no, that's his wife. And the audience, of course, goes crazy. And I'm going, what? And so out comes Pixel. And what was weird among many things was every time I stood between Bob sitting in his chair and Pixel, who was behind me, Pixel would nudge me out of the way. And but they were married. And we like to do romantic stories from time to time. And but Pixel did ultimately leave him. That's what happened.
Why?
Wow. Sad.
We don't know the backstory on that. Let's play some sound here for Jerry before we get him out of here. Maybe he remembers it. It's a News 5 report. The Bengals are advancing to Super Bowl 23 in 1988, and a young, hungry correspondent is there to tell you for News 5, the Bengals are advancing.
As almost 60,000 people poured into the stadium this morning, there was a spirit of giving in the air. While scalpers were getting more than $100 a ticket, a little boy got to see his first Bengals game absolutely free.
Had a sign up saying I need 2 tickets, and a guy came up and he said, how many do you need? I said 2, and he just stuffed them in my hand. And I said, what do you want? He said, absolutely nothing, they're yours.
Maybe the game is bringing out the best in people, but I tell you what, let's get back to what's really important. The game! Booty! Come on! Sometimes the fans tell the whole story. Watch this Bills fan as she watches her team try for a field goal. No good. And we're off to Miami for Super Bowl 23. Congratulations, players and fans. We did it. Jerry Springer, News 5.
What an amazing story from there to a guy from Bob marrying Pixel on television.
Oh man, yeah. My voice was a little bit higher then. Yeah, that was great. I'll tell you what happened that week, if you've got a second. We, Channel 5, which, as I anchored the news for them, the Bengals games were covered on our station. So we did the whole season of Bengals. And then, therefore, when they went to the Super Bowl, for that whole week, we went down to Miami for that Super Bowl. And we're staying at the hotel with them the Sunday before the game. And we're doing the 11 o'clock news. And we're on the roof of the hotel. And in the middle of me doing a story, suddenly the director says, turn around, turn around. What? We're on a rooftop. So I turn around and the city of Miami is ablaze. The riots had broken out. There were shootings. And that became the big story for the whole week. So every day when we would be taken with the team to the field for practice, et cetera, we were on a bus surrounded by the National Guard. We had to be escorted wherever we could. You couldn't just go out on the street and walk around. That was the story. And then what added to that story is the night before the actual game, that Saturday night, Stanley Wilson, our star running back, was found in his hotel room, overdosed from cocaine use. And that wasn't the reason we lost, but who knows? But it shows you the power that an addiction has, that here was Stanley Wilson, what would have been the greatest moment in his life. He's going from how he grew up to now he's going to be a star in the Super Bowl, and he can't even control not taking the drugs the night before the game. And that became one of the stories as well.
Is this the best you've felt or Cincinnati has felt about a football team since then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my gosh, we never even came close to going to the Super Bowl. But then again, in 1988, Sam Weish was the coach, and he took the team the year before. In 87, we were last in the division, and he takes the team to the Super Bowl. That was the last year that Chris Collinsworth was our wide receiver. How great was he? Boomer was our quarterback. We had Ickey Woods and the Ickey Shuffle. I mean, it really was a wonderful team, but Joe Montana was one step too good for us.
Check out his new syndicated show, Judge Jerry, airs Monday through Friday. You can check your local listings. One last question for famed Cincinnati fan, former mayor, and really a purveyor of evil on American television that foretold all the problems in this country, Jerry Springer.
What's the single biggest thing the Ghouls have to do to beat the Rams?
Well, I guess I'm not saying anything new. Is the offensive line has to hold. We can't have Burrow sacked 9 times. That if the offensive line holds, there are enough offensive weapons with Burrow to beat the Rams. But that's a huge if. And frankly, if the line can't hold them, then the Rams have been the better team and they deserve to win. But if the line can hold, the Bengals will win.
I normally don't pull back the curtain, but Jerry Springer is a master at making television. Did you not feel any concern in your soul for the way that Stugotz said Bengals there as he asked the question?
I'm fine, by the way.
What? I didn't get that. The what?
It's okay. Jerry!
Jerry! Jerry! Jerry!
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry,
Hi, Jer.
thank you.
Great.
It is one of my
Jerry.
favorite things about the Super Bowl, the just general lack of concern for Stugotz fighting through a question. I think
If you'd like to sit there and experience the entire show, you can be our guest too. You don't have to contribute. If you just want to watch what's going on, be our guest.
Oh, I'd love to.
please,
Yeah, fly on the wall, Jerry Springer.
if you want,
How about that?
Maybe if you have any questions for Ryan Leaf coming up, that would be great too.
Fantastic.
Wow, okay.
yeah, just stick around, Jerry, if you'd like, and we will go to you if you have anything for Ryan Leaf.
Jerry, before you go, Pixel's husband was named Mark, by the way.
Oh, you actually researched that?
Well, yeah, I had to
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
Yep.
They
Inquiring
don't
minds
pay
wanted
you
to
enough.
know.
Demand more money.
well, Jerry, here, if you want to stick around, then you can watch with us as we do to Ryan Leaf what we just did to you and what we've been doing to Super Bowl guests for about 4 or 5 Super Bowls, where we ask this question at the end, and it's Stugotz having a real problem with one of the words, but no one exhibiting any concern and answering the question seriously.
What's the single biggest thing the Bengals have to do to beat the Rams?
Oh, I see how you say the Bengals. You can't even say it. You can't even.
I'm not well, Jerry.
All right, we will keep Jerry off to the side and just ask him questions every once in a while
I love
about
it.
being the mayor of Cincinnati.
That is what Super Bowl week is all about, Dan. Springer hanging around in a Zoom. Radio Row.
It is. It's magical.
Springer Dinger and then Ryan Leaf.
Why would we get rid of him? Whittingham, Chris Cody has now arrived at the Super Bowl. He is sulking.
Hey.
He is now,
I'm in heaven, Dano.
Why did you not get into the facility at the appropriate time after we flew you out there to be a correspondent for the Super Bowl?
Well, we had a really busy day yesterday, so we were running around, and I didn't get here to get a credential yesterday, so I had to wait. They didn't open until 8 a.m. local time, so, that's what happened.
What happened yesterday?
What happened yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, we were out and doing stuff, creating content all day.
Yeah,
basically.
but I mean, you landed on Monday. You could have gone to the convention center at any moment to
Well, I landed at 8 p.m. on Monday. We're doing this?
We're doing this.
We're grilling you, yes.
I saw a picture of you and drugs, and I'm not going to say anything else, but I saw a photograph.
That's what we're calling in and out these days.
Yeah.
Said enough, Dan.
Making content. That's what we were doing with drugs. I don't know, like if there was drugs involved, it was content, right?
Yeah,
Witty?
yeah.
Witty and drugs. That's a sentence.
I learned a lot about marijuana yesterday.
Wait till you see what we did yesterday. I don't want to give it away, but witty.
Really?
Wow. I'm not saying it.
Wow.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, we got you.
It was fucking awesome, though.
Whoa, this is why we had to send Chris Cody to L.A.
That's right, because you can't get any
can you guys
weed in
hear
Miami.
There's so much fat in this room. I feel so in shape in this room. Like I fit here. I belong. I look around at all these tables.
Yeah.
I belong here. This is where I was meant
All right,
to be.
well, tell Jerry Springer about Radio Row, how sad it is. Paint a picture for the audience and everyone else, because it's a hell of a setup. You guys look professional. The art looks nice. You look like a big show that's out at the Super Bowl.
A bow. Yeah, there's a lot of tables here. I'd say there's 100 tables. Maybe 40 of them are now kind of being used, but there's like one person at every table. It's sad, but it's my happy place. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, they're like it's still the same people that have been here for the last couple of days on the perimeter that have much nicer sets than we do. But I have to be honest, Hector and the team have done a tremendous job of making us look like we're a reasonable outfit out here. But yeah, they're still nasty Nestor 2 tables down.
And he's not underselling how close Shit Stain is. Like, Jesus, I can smell it.
Celebrity, how much celebrity have you encountered there on Radio Row? The crappy celebrities make their way early in the week. Have you gotten some decent ones today?
Other than our dinner with David Spade last night, no, we haven't seen any celebrity. Oh, you're talking about a Radio Row or last night in our ventures with
Pick
David
up that
Spade? No big
name
deal.
you just dropped, Chris.
Did I say that?
A dinner with David Spade? What happened? Wait a minute.
Chris Whittingham is the biggest star in this room right now, if I had to say based on what I'm looking
Not
at.
nasty Nestor.
David Spade, tell me a story.
We ended up having dinner with Brad Williams, a comedian, and he knows David Spade, so we got to meet David Spade. I feel like I just undercut Brad Williams because I just went straight to David Spade, but Brad gets it. Right. But we had dinner with Brad Williams, went to the Comedy Store, we met David Spade, have some observations on him.
Nice.
But I don't know if I should give them because, how does this work? I went to dinner
we could be
with somebody.
betraying friendships here because Brad Williams did a lot for us by getting us into the Comedy Store, which is like the haloed comedy club of Los Angeles. And so he did a lot for us. Now, we don't want to ruin his friendship, but we noticed something about David Spade that I feel like, you know what? I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Oh,
he sits on his leg.
He's a leg sitter at
He's
dinner.
a leg
You know what?
sitter.
I would have guessed that.
Really?
I would
At
have
a
guessed.
booth at a
Here,
dinner?
I'm going to demonstrate.
What's wrong with that?
I would have guessed David Spade.
Puts the leg down.
Yeah.
So I can seem taller than Chris.
I'm Chris
Because
Right.
like when I
It's a height thing.
I walked by
Yeah.
going to the bathroom and I saw him. I was like, he's either sitting on his leg or he has the Phil Jackson setup where he's so famous where he shows up to a restaurant and they have a big chair for him.
You ever sit on your leg, Jer?
No, I can't. I have trouble bending my legs.
Mhm.
Right. Same here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call,
Like
Jared.
when I was a kid, when I sat on the floor, I couldn't fold my
Crisscross
legs.
applesauce.
Right.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
David
Yeah.
Spade
I was
seems
never going to be an athlete.
wayfish enough to sit on a leg. He looks like somebody who would sit on a leg. Jerry, because you're with us and you're so kind, and really it is a dream of mine to see you just gazing at us with your face in your hands, just staring at our show. But how long were you the mayor of Cincinnati, and how did all that come to be, and what were the hard and easy parts of that job?
I was mayor in 77 and 78, and then I ran for governor of Ohio, and I lost that race. It was close, but I lost. I wasn't known really that well outside of Southern Ohio, Cincinnati, etc. The biggest issues I dealt with were, we put up health clinics in each of the 44 neighborhoods as an alternative because a lot of people don't have health insurance. So if there was at least a city-run health clinic in every community, then you at least could go and get, some kind of medical help there. So we did that. And we took over the transit system. We had a privately owned bus company, but not a public company. So we took over the transit system, lowered the fare, and that became an easy source of transportation around the city. So those kind of things. And I was real young. I'll tell you one thing I did, which was fun, is I was 32, and I really loved rock and roll, and I wanted to meet all these stars. So I started giving away the key to the city to all these rock stars. So I could get to meet
That's a heady play, Jer.
Bob Dylan, the Eagles, Eddie Money, Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers. It was great. By the time my terms ended, I had run out of keys, so I started to give away the combination instead.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Are you surprised? A little Stugotz and everybody. Are you surprised that Jerry Springer used the mayoral office just to meet celebrities and ran out of? It
was so exciting.
I'm sure it was.
Me and Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was great. Yeah. I mean, we talked for about 20 minutes, and he had just come back from Nuremberg, where he had done a concert there, and it was very controversial. And he was just talking about that. And then he wanted just to know what it was like to be mayor. I mean, here is Bob Dylan, and he was all excited, because, we're the same age. So he was just, hey, man, he just wanted to hear all about what it's like to be a mayor. And then I gave him this key, which, doesn't mean anything.
It means a meeting with Dylan is what it means, Jerry.
It doesn't mean anything. What a shocking reveal from Jerry Springer.
It's plastic.
What? It's not metal?
It's not even metal. Wow.
No, I remember it being, and really, I must have given away 50.
It's a shitty key. Say it right now, Jerry. Your mayor, your key to the city, Bob Dylan discarded it as soon as you gave it to him. It was a shitty key.
Well, I'm sure it was given away. I mean, when you go and visit all these, and particularly you're on concert tour, I mean, you get everything, every place you go, they give you something. I mean, I get that when I was in politics, you get that. And now obviously with the show, people give you something that reminds you of the community you were in. And it's always very nice. It's the idea that they're recognizing you, honoring you, and being nice to you.
I don't know how much civic pride you're draped in or how much regional identity you get, but I think Mike Ryan has a take that you might not like, a take that he has diluted over the years because he's afraid of the zealots who come after him when he says things like the following.
I always want to sample local fare when I go traveling, and I wanted to do Skyline Chili because it's associated with Cincinnati so strongly, but I was scared away from it because people feel very strongly about Skyline Chili, and they say it doesn't present well and it doesn't taste good. You're better off going just anywhere else for chili. What is your defense for Skyline Chili?
It is clearly unique, and it is my comfort food. And I can honestly say I never make a trip back to Cincinnati now, and I go there quite often because I do a live podcast from there. And so I go to Cincinnati a lot, and I never go there without having Skyline Chili. It's just this wonderful, it's different than, if you like Texas chili, you'd say, what is this? But, it's the chili and the beef and the spaghetti and the cheese and the beans. It's got some cinnamon in it. So it's a sweeter kind of chili, but I just love it. But you can't, if people aren't into that, you can't convince them to say.
Grant Wall says it's the worst food associated with any city in America.
Well, yeah. Well, he will never do a commercial for Skyline.
Yeah, but really, should chili be on spaghetti, Jerry? Spaghetti?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Well, haven't you ever had? Well, when you go to an Italian restaurant, for example, the people that make this are Greek, but when you go to a Italian restaurant, you have meat sauce with spaghetti. Well, this is basically a meat sauce with spaghetti and cheese, and you can have onions and beans, and you can have three-way, which is just with cheese, spaghetti, and the meat sauce or the chili. Or you can have four-way, which is with onions, and five-way, which they add the beans. My gosh, does life get any better than that?
Nope.
Not the way I thought I would be discussing three-way and four-way and five-way with Jerry Springer.
That was used in a defense, and then I've got to go. But it was used in a defense where someone got picked up for picking up a lady of the night on the street corner. And he had, in court, he had said, well, I was asking for a three-way. And he said that I was trying to get some chili.
I love that you just referred to a prostitute as Lady of the Night. You are old school, my friend. A Lady of the Night. Yes. Thank you for being on with us. You really do have nothing else to do. I love that you have nothing else to do. Please stay there longer. Just sit and hang around with our show.
Or come back tomorrow, Jerry.
Yeah. You what? Well, maybe I'll come back another day, but I actually do have another interview.
Okay, good.
Oh, no.
Tomorrow, Jerry.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Come on,
We'll
Jerry.
talk to you tomorrow. We'll
Don't
talk
go
to you
anywhere.
tomorrow. We're going to call you. We're going to see if Jerry. We'll see you
Tomorrow,
Goodbye,
Jerry?
See you tomorrow, Jerry.
Jerry.
See you tomorrow, Jerry.
I love
Sex worker, Dan.
I'm sorry. Well, it's not Lady of the Night. Yes, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah.
It's sex worker. It's not Lady of the Night. It's not
fine.
prostitute. Is it a fine? I don't feel like that is a fine. Don't you own $5?
You called him Maury.
I did.
That is to his face.
I know. I feel terrible about it. Unfortunately,
$50.
I have no
Huge fine,
cash
man.
on me. I have no cash. I will pay the $50 when Dan pays the $150 that he owes from just yesterday.
You owe $6 from
What?
yesterday. I paid
He had a hole in his
$30
pocket, though,
yesterday.
Dan, yeah.
Put the IOU in there because he has stopped paying his fines again. He's again. He hasn't
look
paid.
who's talking.
He hasn't paid any of his. What do you mean? Look who's talking.
There's only a five ski up there. I mean, come on.
I paid $30 yesterday in fines. A record-setting day for me.
But you owed $120. I mean,
No, you made up that I owed $120. You have a $6 IOU from yesterday, and now you have another $6 IOU from today, and you haven't paid any of your grid of death bets. You've got grid of death bets from 5 years outstanding.
That's not true.
It is true. Nothing you say is true.
Not a true.
Not a word that you ever say is true. It's infuriating. 5 years.
Yeah.
Can we get one grid of death payment? We are getting our video up. We have got visual gags all over the place here because we now have access that we did not have when we were at the worldwide leader in sports to video in our kitchen and video in an adjacent room. We have now built after 1 year. We have gotten up and running. Let's go to the kitchen now. Give me an update. Tom Haberstroh and Amin El Hassan waiting for their big turd deadline show 2 to 4 tomorrow. Are you drinking already, Amin?
No. Labels out.
It's too early.
It's called sponsor activation, Dan.
It's too early.
How do you think we're paying for all of this? You think money just grows on trees? No. It's because of people like DraftKings and Miller Lite and Sheets and Giggles and everyone else who's sponsoring us that I don't have a list of. Is Hormel Chili a sponsor, by the way? Because we have lots and lots of cans of Hormel Chili here.
No.
Not a sponsor?
No, that's just for Chris Cody to get bathed with it because he owes that grid of death penalty. Skip town.
Oh, ew.
Are we paying any grid of death penalties the rest of this week, Mike? I'm going to
I'm
pay
so
one.
upset with you guys because I'm the only person with integrity around here.
Me too.
I have followed
Jesus.
through.
Don't
You
forget
all multiple ones except for Roy.
Thank you.
Obviously. Dan just hasn't picked a couple. It's just disgusting from you guys.
I'm going. Wait a minute. I hadn't picked a couple, and then I showed up as Ronald McDonald, and
did.
I picked another one, and I'm going to reveal it tomorrow or later this week.
I'm going to wear my suit next week, 5 days. All 5 days, I'll wear a suit. Okay? That's one of my punishments, correct?
Okay,
All right.
I believe you.
Stop lying.
Why would you believe him?
I don't. I was being sarcastic. He's a noted liar.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ryan Leaf is going to join us in a little bit, and I heard yesterday, Stugotz, and I was curious what your thoughts are on this, because Will Smith was nominated for an Oscar playing Richard Williams in the story of Venus, Serena, and the Williams family, and I really thought that show was syrupy, saccharine, made for white people talking about race that made their life seem made for television in a way that Compton overrunning the country club wasn't, from my experience watching it from afar. I think Will Smith is a wonderful actor. I think Will Smith did a good job acting in this movie. And I think that the Serena and Venus and Richard Williams story is so much more interesting than the one they made a movie about. The entirety of their story is, to me, something that doesn't have a precedent in sports. Two of these champions coming from the same womb somehow and overrunning the country club with an assortment of discomforts led by a father, Richard Williams, who was viewed as kook and crazy because he did it indelicately and did it his way.
So how would you like them to go about this? Because I think it's a valid criticism. This criticism was around when Bohemian Rhapsody was a thing because it was a very glowing portrait of what Queen's time was. And the only way that you would have access to the catalog of Queen, and you can't really tell the story about Queen without the songs, is if Queen, the surviving members, approved the script. And so the Williams sisters have insight into this production. You have access to the Williams sisters. That's not to say someone else can't make the movie that you're looking for, but they won't have the same access.
Okay, so let me present to you and the audience the following, because Showtime has tried to get into the sports documentary business, and they've done so with access. And they tell the Boogie Cousins story, and I'm like, yawn. And they tell the Russell Westbrook story, and I'm yawn. And they tell the Julian Edelman story, and I'm yawn. And I'm like, Westbrook's interesting. I'd like a documentary that wasn't being told by Westbrook. I'd actually like to find out what is happening in Westbrook's...
Why would Russell Westbrook allow that?
Exactly.
I know, but why
you
would
do
you...
the unauthorized thing and have zero access
But
to
why
Russell
would you
Westbrook?
consume it? Why would you consume it if he doesn't allow it?
Because at least you're getting some of the Russell Westbrook story. It's his version of it, but you're getting some of it.
You haven't consumed it?
No, I haven't.
Nor will you. But if I tell you there's all sorts of stuff in it that is unauthorized, or if I tell you there's stuff in it that's more honest than he'd like for you to see,
I'd say if Westbrook wasn't involved, I'd certainly be more likely to consume it. No question about it, Dan. I haven't watched the Brady one. I never thought in my wildest dreams Brady would release a 9 to 10 part documentary about himself, and I don't want to see it because it's by Tom Brady. You know?
Well, no, but his is actually more interesting than most of these that I'm talking about because he's allowed. We talked to Gotham Chopra about this. He and Tom Brady and Kobe Bryant would have fights because Brady and Kobe Bryant actually cared about making the content a little bit edgier than most athletes are willing to show you. I mean, what do you have on this subject?
Yeah, I watched the Westbrook documentary, and the funny thing is, you guys are right. Obviously, the access means that this is painted in a particular way. But it was funny how much stuff that was very unintentionally revealing. Did you notice how often they kept mentioning the haters and the doubters, but it was the same 3 or 4 sound bites. It was Stephen A., it was Skip, it was Cowherd. And they just kept going back to that well over and over again. And, I'll be honest, I always thought Russell Westbrook was a very, I don't care what anyone says, I'm going to do me. I'm interested in things I'm interested in. I play the way I want to play, and I tune all that stuff out. But watching that documentary, I walked away with, oh, no. He's listening to everything everyone says all the time. He's obsessed with it. He's consumed with it. And it probably informs why he does a lot of things he does.
Let me ask the audience this question because, just throughout the list of haters who have profited greatly off trafficking in that hate, Cowherd, Skip Bayless, Stephen A., Westbrook's list of haters. Bayless jumped in there yesterday. What are you doing consoling Anthony Davis and LeBron? They can't be consoled, Russ. They play with you. That's what Skip Bayless is offering at 70 years old as commentary that's deeply profitable. And as I wince at it, Chris Mad Dog Russo, February 16th, First Take, as we reinvent media with them shouting at each other about who can hate the athlete more while longing for Havlicek.
16 freaking years.
That should be the name of the show.
16 freaking years.
We're going to break now for a couple of minutes, and Ryan Leaf is going to join us in about 10 minutes. Breaking news from the Super Bowl, where the Bengals offensive line coach is quoted as saying, "Our guys give you their best when their best is needed." He's saying, never mind those 9 sacks against Tennessee at the very end when they needed to block. They prevented a 10th sack.
He heard Jerry.
Good luck with Aaron Donald and Von Miller.
Good analysis.
People always look over Leonard Floyd too. That dude is an absolute
You're right,
specimen,
Mike.
and he's got the speed. This is different than the other pass rushes. They've gone through some pretty good pass rushes, and as Dan pointed out, they survived the 9 sacks against Tennessee, in which that was a week in which I asked you to name one Titan, and you all struggled. They got Floyd, they got Miller, they've got Aaron Donald. Oh, and in the secondary, they have Jalen Ramsey, and Weddle's actually playing really well for them. He's not the same type of athlete, but he is a weapon that they actually kind of needed in that secondary.
It's nice of you to say all of that and to break it down. I think my father had the best analysis last night when I saw him. He walked by me, said nothing else other than shitty Super Bowl. Ryan Leaf joins us
from the Super Bowl.
From the Super Bowl, Radio Row. He is there, and Stugotz was laughing because he hosts the Bust podcast. And Ryan...
Why is that funny, Stugotz?
Come on, Ryan.
Come on, man. I'm a master marketer, all right? You know about how well that sold because of that?
Yes, well, that's what I was telling Dan. It's genius. If you are hosting the Bus podcast, which you are, that is genius. Good job out of you, Ryan.
It has taken a minute, Ryan, and thank you for joining us. It's taken a minute for you to get to the place where you're not self-serious about this stuff, right? Because the video of you, yelling at the reporter, Junior Seau, a million years ago, whatever it was that was your introduction to football, that guy is not this guy.
Well, I think when you go to prison, that humbles you a bit. Just, putting that out there. You come out thinking, you know what? Things aren't that bad if somebody calls you a bust, You're not sleeping in a bunk with somebody who killed his whole family. That's a problem.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, please. Does prison humble you? Because I believe he is right when he says that. But how did prison humble you?
Well, I think that, when the judge looks at you and says that you have no value, I'm going to warehouse you and give you a number. I think that you ultimately, for somebody who's never been marginalized before, it's the first time I really had my eyes open to that, and my perspective had to change. And it didn't mean I changed, right? It took me a long time. Luckily for me, I had a roommate who was, he had his head on straight. He was an Iraqi-Afghan war vet, and he got on me one day about how I wasn't, how much value that I had for the men in there or when I got out. Because he said, Ryan, you're going to get out at some point. What are you going to do? And he was right. And then we started, teaching prisoners who didn't know how to read, And that's like the first time I think I've ever been of service to anybody else. So that humbled me. And it made me think that when I got out, just about over 7 years ago, was you have to make a 180-degree lifestyle change, or nothing's going to change. You're going to be the same guy that everybody assumes you are from what they've seen on TV or heard in press clippings because of your criminal activity and your drug addiction and all that stuff. So, I had a ton of people carry me early on, for sure, and now it's you could call it the life of my dreams, which I thought was supposed to be playing in the NFL.
Ryan, can you walk me through something? Because we've talked before, and I always find your introspection and what I believe to be your honesty in talking about these things refreshing. I think, though, that the last time I talked to you, I'm like, okay, he's like really got a grip on everything. And then I read, a few weeks later after that, whatever the details were that I'm not remembering about, like breaking and entering and pills or whatever it was. I don't even remember, but it was weeks after we talked, and I was like, God damn, talking to that dude is so impressive about how much he's learned, and then the addiction grabs you. I don't know the details, but can you just walk me through what I believe to be honesty, and then 3 weeks later it can feel like something else because the addiction grabs you?
Yeah, I remember I was doing a book tour, before, and I was such a fraud. I knew the lingo, and I thought that's, I needed to showcase the perfected life, and it was just a chaotic chase to do that, to be this complete fraud, and then get back to your hotel and take the pills. I was going through a medical issue at the time. I had a brain tumor. I had to do radiation, and the doctor prescribed some medication. I didn't tell him I had a history, but I just can't take it like everybody else. I'm a drug addict. And so he gave it to me like on December 1st, 2011, and by March 30th, 2012, I was in prison. I mean, literally 4 months, and it was over. Just because of, when you start again, when you relapse, you don't start over. You start exactly where you left off before, and it is a constant dumpster fire that you're just burying yourself in. And that's exactly the truth with you. I remember going on that show. I was in a hotel talking to you on the phone, and once I get off, I look in the mirror and I'm like, you piece of shit, right? What are you doing? You're a fraud. And so I don't necessarily talk as much about things. I just try to be as actionable as possible, because clearly I can go articulate something and fool somebody if I need to, and that's just not the life I want to lead.
Where did you assess I'm a drug addict? What was it that brought you to the admission?
Well, I think there was, plenty of nights where I was just crying out for help, and it was usually looking in the mirror. Like, I just would look in the mirror, and I knew I had the problem, right? You junkie, you need some help. And then I would fall on my knees and just be like, somebody please help me. But I couldn't tell anybody because of the stigma that exists. And I thought I was weak, and I couldn't let anybody see this. I was already this failed football player that everybody liked to call a bust, and I can't add to it by, terrible human being. And so that's what I thought. It's all this negative self-talk that we hear about. And my mental illness was just ravaging inside me, right? Just the anxiety, the narcissistic personality disorder, and depression. So the addiction is always is a symptom, right? You self-medicate because you have a mental illness, and I have rarely found somebody who's gone through what I've gone through that doesn't have a co-occurring mental health disorder. That's just the start. That is the basis and foundation of usually what it is.
But did you not have names for any of it before realizing that you were self-medicating?
I just, I was going to doctors. I thought the way I put it is I was doing the wrong thing the right way, right? I was in pain, right? So I was going to physicians. I wasn't initially breaking into houses until ultimately the physician stopped prescribing me the medication, and then my hometown became my drug dealer, right? I didn't know a drug dealer. I also didn't want anybody to know I was using drugs, so I didn't tell anybody, and of course I didn't go about it. Living in Montana, it's just it's a complete shock that I wasn't shot by somebody, with everybody who has a gun up there and being in other people's homes. It seems like a lifetime ago, Dan, but I constantly have to remind myself that that's still available. Like, if I choose not to do the next right thing today, like, that is every bit available to me tomorrow.
The grip, is that tenuous daily? How does
not the drug. It's been out of my system long enough, coming up on 10 years sober here, April. The behavior, right? If I don't address the mental illness, right? I believe I'm living with CTE. Just with all the symptoms that we know, the depression, the substance abuse, the traumatic brain tumor that I had, all of that. So luckily for me, I had to address it because of my addiction. So now I do the things that I need to. I see a therapist, once a week. I go through anger management, because with CTE and brain trauma, you could have these flashes of just like impulsive anger and things like that. And how do you cope with it best? So those are the things I'm talking about. Like, if I stop doing those things, if I stop going to meetings, if I stop going to therapy, if I stop doing the neurocognitive behavior work, that type of stuff, that's when you go down a slippery slope, because then you feel this way and you choose to do what you only know, and the muscle memory of it all is to take medication. And so that's my biggest fear in all this is old behavior, not the drug. That's been out of my system for a long, long time.
What do you regard as the most extreme of the pill use?
I wasn't luckily, right. I didn't escalate to the extremely potent things that are killing people, where people are overdosing. I was looking for Vicodin, like, that worked for me. And but the thing about Vicodin is they have acetaminophen in it, or Tylenol. And I had to take 100 milligrams, And so I had to some way get that amount, whether it was 10 pills or 20 pills, and the amount of Tylenol that I'm so shocked that my liver didn't just crap out on me because of all the amount of Tylenol I was taking with those opiates.
Is football responsible for the Vicodin?
No, I'm responsible. It's my choice. I was introduced to it because of my injuries with football, but I mean, anybody who's injured and has surgery or even goes to the dentist, in the past, they would just hand them out like chiclets. So I'm responsible for it. The injuries came from the football playing aspect of things, but I'm responsible for what I did in all of this.
He's a football analyst for the Believe Podcast Network, and he hosts the Bust Podcast. When Ryan Leaf is going home to home at his most desperate, what was that? 3 homes a day? 5? Like, what was happening there? Just with your mind as you are in the home of a stranger looking for pills and saying to yourself in some form, I used to be Ryan Leaf. What am I doing?
Well, I didn't necessarily think about that a lot of times. What I thought about is that, like, the ends justified the means, because the vicious cycle of the psychology of opiate painkillers is you fully understand when you are not opiated that you are this junkie, that you are shameful and guilt-ridden because of what you're doing, but you can't feel that way. And if you take these pills, all those feelings go away. It just numbs you. You don't feel better. You don't feel it. And I think I was searching for that for so long, Dan, to just not feel anything. So that's what it was like sitting outside of an open house in my local community, pretending I was interested in buying the home. I'd go look around, and 9 times out of 10 there would be some sort of opiate painkiller in the medicine cabinet. And once they were in my hand, I felt better. They're not even in my system. That's the psychological effect of it. It was gone. And I wouldn't then go to like another house or anything. Like, I had my fix for the day. That covered my day. I'll worry about tomorrow. This is what I needed, and I was fine. Driving back to my house with them in my hand, knowing I got to take them. I mean, it is the single most difficult pull of anything I've ever been around. And that's why I work so hard to try to help those that are going through it, because I know there's a solution and I know what they're going through in that moment.
You were funny on Twitter talking about your awe and amazement at the idea that you played college football with Tom Brady and he was still playing at that level last year. How much shame is involved with watching Tom Brady? Because you're looking at your path and you're saying that guy doesn't necessarily have the physical gifts I had.
Well, it's not shame. I've really understood what the definition of shame is. Shame is thinking you're a bad person, right? Not that you did a bad thing or anything like that. And I guess I found humility, and when I say humility, that means understanding who you are, fully understanding who you are, and you're okay with it. Like, the guy I see in the mirror, I'm more than happy with. And I think I also found out that it doesn't cost me anything to be self-deprecating at all. In fact, it makes me more relatable. I got to do some of the most amazing things in my life because of football. And I am in awe, that's the best word to put it, of Tom Brady and what he was been able to do, right? My last collegiate football game was against him, and he wasn't even good enough to get on the field, right? And then I'm drafted 2nd overall while he's drafted 199th. The difference between us is his commitment to working his tail off every offseason, regardless of having won a championship or not. And I would argue that the best version at quarterback of Tom Brady was this last year, because of every offseason that he's worked to put himself in that position. It's been amazing and so fun to watch him go through all this.
Football analyst for the Believe Podcast Network, BLEAV. You could listen to his podcast. He's the host of the Bust Podcast. And since you said self-deprecating is now your thing, we bring in Tom Haberstroh, who has an assortment of trivia questions to ask you. Haberstroh, what do you have for Ryan Leaf?
Just one question here, Ryan. You ready to have some fun?
Yes, sir.
We like to have fun here.
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is the question.
Was that your one question?
End of segment.
Yep, good.
Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf, you threw 14 touchdowns in your NFL career. 14 touchdowns to 9 different receivers. How many of those 9 can you name?
All right, let's go. Let's go Michael Ricks, Jeff
Correct.
Graham, Chris Carter. Or sorry, not Chris Carter. Why am I not thinking his first name? I'm having a tough time thinking of his first name right now. But Carter.
Carter.
It's Conway. I'll let it slide. Yep.
Conway. Curtis Conway. Sorry. Curtis Conway.
Close.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Freddie Jones.
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of my fullback? I can't remember the name of my fullback for whatever
Also
reason.
a Fred.
Fred McCreary. Brian Still. Brian Still was my first one. How many is that?
Sounded like 6. How many are missing here, Haberstow?
I actually don't know the answer to that
Okay,
question.
excellent, Haberstow.
Good job, Tommy.
Excellent work by you.
Doing great here.
Let's go Jeff Graham, Freddie Jones, Fred McCreary, Curtis Conway, Michael Ricks, Brian Still.
We've covered those.
Yeah, we covered those 6. There's your,
Yeah,
there's
but you
your
got to
6.
recap, Dan, just to get yourself back in order. You know what I'm
This is
saying?
not his fault. It's an
Steve
unfair.
Hyden.
Oh,
Yes!
Carolina-
Yes!
Nice, that's 7.
Steve Hyden against the Carolina Panthers.
Wow!
Terrell Fletcher against the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
Wow, what
and
a
then
game.
my 1 touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys, Jackie Harris.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he got them all. Ryan Leaf, again, the Bust Podcast. One last question for you, different than all the questions anyone has ever asked you in the history of the Super Bowl. We'll get our timing
What's
right.
the single biggest thing the Bengals have to do to beat the Rams?
They got to get to Stafford.
Yeah.
They have to get to Stafford. They have to move him off the spot and make him make the mistakes that he made during that 3-game losing streak during the year. I called the Titans-Rams game earlier this year, and I was so impressed with that defense with Tennessee and how they made him feel uncomfortable, especially in backed-up positions. They got a pick 6. Kevin Byard really had noticed something on film and took advantage of Matthew Stafford. That's the type of thing you got to do, and I think it comes down to the defensive line. And if you're going to go with the defensive line, you most likely think it's going to be the LA Rams. But if Cincinnati's able to do something and make him make a mistake, Joe Burrow's good enough, regardless of how many times he goes down, as we saw, to find a way to win. And they have the better kicker.
Ryan, the analysis that Mike Ryan, a little bonus analysis there, and they have the better kicker. Ryan, good talking to you. Thank you, as always, for making the time, sir. And I appreciate that every time you come on here, you do so with a message that tells your story in a way that can help people.
Oh, of course, Dan. I appreciate it. Love your show. In fact, right before I did it, our friend Kate Fagan texted me, and she was all psyched I was coming on the show. So,
And Kate Fagan had nothing to ask you, nothing to contribute.
I did.
What you did? Well, what do you have for him?
She asked me whether I watched Yellowstone
Yes,
or not.
I wanted to know, as a Montana native, what Ryan thought Yellowstone, what has it done right by Montana, and what has it exploited?
It's shown the beauty of Montana. Other than that, it's exploited everything in terms of Montana. Like, there's not that kind of violence. There is that kind of marginalization of the Native Americans on their reservations and stuff like that. So it's done that part. I don't know if it's a great, if it's a great show. The beauty and the acting is very, very good, but it doesn't paint Montana in the best light.
And is it true if I went to Bozeman and I sought out a craft coffee spot that I would be looked down upon by the natives of Montana in the same way that the show does?
No, because I think all the people in the craft coffee spot would all be, the same mindset. So I don't think you would be looked down upon that in that way at all. Also, it's not Bozeman. They pretend it's Bozeman, but the Dutton Ranch and where it's filmed is right outside Missoula, just FYI, everybody.
Well, there was coverage I was not expecting today. A tour of Montana with Ryan Leaf and Kate Fagan.
Delightful, though.
No one else is doing that, but there's probably a reason for that. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. We appreciate it.
You bet. Happy Super Bowl week, everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Leaf.
Super Bowl week. I don't think we're allowed to use the trademark Super Bowl. So we just threw an E in there. Speaking of which, where's Chris Cody? Where is
he's roaming around?
Just wandering around.
Yeah.
Is he looking for guests?
Clear out the table for our guest. But I think he is putting out the vibe. Let's try to get our Chris's back in position.
Is Jerry Springer indeed going to join us tomorrow? Do you know if we're just going to make it a convoluted group of people?
I didn't even get his email address to send him tomorrow's Zoom leg. So,
my sense is Jerry is out. I mean, just to feel like
man, Dan.
You didn't have enough Jerry Springer? I'm just
can you have enough Jerry Springer?
I would say so. The second time we did the Jerry gag, I was gagging.
God Bless Football has had a very slow play on getting what I've been calling a parade of meatheads on so that they could land the big fish, the biggest of the meatheads, Rob Gronkowski. Do we have any? You've been doing this for months now where you have more and more Gronk friends on your podcast to tell more and more partying stories. How close are you getting to Gronk? The closest we've been to Gronk is he stayed here at the Clevelander because of course he did.
Right.
And we tried to leave a trail of beer cans like breadcrumbs to the studio to lure him in, but there were sightings and there were rumors, but we never got close to getting him. Have you or will you get Rob Gronkowski on God Bless Football?
Me and Billy are pleased to announce that Rob will indeed be joining us this week.
Oh, wow.
On God Bless Football. Very, very exciting. Not
finally
just
got
Rob, but
him.
Rob and Bobby Goons.
Bobby Goons, yeah.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy.
You haven't been listening to him?
I don't know what that means. Who is Bobby Goons?
Oh, you know.
Yeah, you know who
You know
Dan.
Bobby.
Everyone should have a Bobby Goons in their life,
That's
okay?
right.
And Gronk has one. He has the Bobby Goons.
I actually don't doubt that you need a Bobby Goons in your life, but what is the relevance of this Bobby Goons?
This Bobby Goons tells stories about Rob Gronkowski that Rob Gronkowski can't remember.
So this is Gronk's Antoine, basically, is what you're saying.
You need a Bobby Goons.
You need a Bobby Goons.
Udonis Haslam had an Antoine to take the weed hit on an arrest, and of course, Gronk has Bobby Goons. Devonta Smith is going to join us. Kurt Warner is going to join us later in the show as well. Chris Cody and Whittingham are in place. Do you guys have anything to report at what's going to happen? Because this is your third day. Metal Arc budget is getting eaten up with you guys there, and I want to keep getting guests, but Chris Cody just got into the facility and he's already wandering around getting snacks, I'm sure.
He is also intrepiding an opportunity with Kenny Mayne, so we'll see if that's possible. But yes, he is wandering around and haranguing our potential guests, and then I believe Devonta Smith he's here, so he'll be on here in a couple minutes.
Are any of you surprised that Whittingham has said that recently he's taken to driving home from work playing jazz? Are any of you surprised by this?
I'm surprised his car has a radio.
Yeah, I listen to jazz on the FM dial, like 90.7, like
Right.
the public radio section of FM. Yeah, when you have a particularly stressful day, podcasts won't do it because I listen to podcasts at speed, and so like one at 1.5 speed on a podcast when you're tired and your brain is fried, and then music it's mostly energy based. So I've just decided some smooth jazz on the way home. I
Yes.
might even turn to the classical genre as well, just something to calm my mind as I'm driving home.
There is something about the soothing sounds of jazz. There really is. Like, there is. It's very relaxing. It's very calming after a stressful day. I listen to Christopher Mad Dog Russo on my way home, but I understand why someone would go to jazz. I do.
So he basically puts jazz on his gramophone in his car just to drown out the sound of Stugotz echoing in his ears when he's driving home from work, is what I understand.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith is going to join us here in a second. Stugotz, I don't know if you were surprised by his season this year. I don't know that many people should have been. Everybody, I thought, knew that this man was very hard to guard.
Well, his headsets are on now, so no, I was not surprised by his great season this year. He's awesome.
Okay, we will get to him in a second, but before we do that, I just need to hear the story of why it is that Billy bought a DVD on Amazon. I wanna know.
We can't waste Devonta Smith time with this. We'll get to this later. Devonta, when's the last time you bought a DVD, just out of curiosity? Because this is what happened, I'll tell you.
Oh, God.
I saw Police Academy 1, and then I said, you know what? Not bad, but there's 7 of these. Where can I watch them? And there was no more free ones. I had to rent them all. And every time I was going to go to rent one, they were like $3.99 each. But I found a DVD of 7 of them on Amazon for $15. So I did that. So I bought 7 Police Academies on DVD for $15. How about that?
Why you needed 7 of them?
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm
Right.
through 2, and I don't know why
6
we
too
needed to
many.
get to a 3, to be
Answer
honest
the
with
question, Devontae. When's the last time you bought a DVD?
Last time I been to Blockbuster.
That's right.
Long time ago, I guess. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you about the football things in a second. But can you tell me the secret, the key to making the perfect jambalaya?
I would say the seasoning. You gotta season it good. I mean, me personally, I use Accent, some Tony's, some Old Bay. But, I mean, it's the season. I feel like majority of things is how you season the food.
Did you find upon your arrival that the cheesesteak was overrated, underrated, properly rated?
Overrated.
Oof.
Really?
You better be careful.
Wow.
Are you sure?
He's run into it on Twitter.
Oh, my
Dan.
God.
You know, he's already stepped into
Oh,
that.
my God. He's going to get aggregated.
No, but he's right. Philadelphia makes such a big deal about their cheesesteaks, and then you get there and you're like, man, it's just like any other cheesesteak I've ever had.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you.
I can't believe you're saying this. Are you actively courting the harshest audience in Philadelphia? Or it doesn't matter, you'll shut them up with touchdowns?
I think my player balanced it out.
Can you tell who's yammering in the background?
That's definitely Chris Whittingham.
Yep.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, he's
Loves to yammer. Yeah.
Devontae, can you tell Chris Whittingham to shut up? Just like shut your mouth.
Yeah, please just tell.
Just
tell,
say, Whitty,
You
shut
tell
up.
him that all the time.
Yeah.
Shut the
also,
hell up.
Also call him a murderer.
Shut the hell up, murderer.
He doesn't want to do that.
He doesn't want to do that.
That's admittedly a bad spot
He
for
doesn't
you.
want to shout it in the middle of an auditorium filled with people. You get to the league, Devonta, and you're prepared. Was there anything that surprised you? Anything that you're like, I underestimated this, or this is not something I was expecting?
The conditioning. I mean, running back to the huddle every play, getting the call. I mean, as soon as the play over with, the clock starts right then. So that was the hardest thing, the conditioning, just running back to the huddle. You had to be in more shape than in college.
Did you have any issues with the transition?
No, I would say the biggest thing was kind of just being able to play adjust quicker. So like in the NFL, players move at like the last minute. So a defense is going to disguise a look to the very last second. So you have to be able to adjust quicker on the fly.
Any defensive backs that stood out to you that were a challenge for a guy who likes challenges?
I would say Tampa Bay. Their DBs, they were very aggressive, very physical. So they was real hands-on. So I would say that was probably the biggest challenge.
How should Dolphin fans feel about Tua?
I mean, they should love Tua. I mean, Tua's that guy. I mean, he's a great guy, great person that you want to build your team around.
Can you take us through your happiest moment this season?
Happiest moment this season. I would probably say once it was official that we made the playoffs. I mean, starting off 2-5 and then changing the whole season around. That was kind of the biggest thing, just where we started at and then just being able to adjust, sticking to our identity as a team and getting to where we wanted to be.
I'm terribly sorry to admit this to you, but I'd forgotten all about you guys making it to the playoffs. I don't even mean that as insult. I just now I'm reminded when he says it. I'm like, oh yeah, they got there and we're against Tampa Bay.
Now we know the saddest moment of the season.
I don't even mean it as an insult. I'm sorry, but I just forgotten because Tampa Bay, you ran into a buzzsaw. I mean, that team, they're champions for a reason. You go on the road, and I feel like you guys pretty max achieved on the season given the injuries. No?
I mean, it was to start off 2-5 and then make it to the playoffs. I mean, that's great, but ultimately it wasn't what we wanted. We didn't want to just make it to the playoffs. I mean, the goal is to win a championship. So I mean, just getting to the playoffs, that wasn't enough for us.
Did you find that defensive backs were talkative? Did you find a lot of guys were talking a lot to you?
Some guys, depending on who you play. You had some guys that really didn't talk a lot, that just played the game, and then you had some that just chirped the whole game.
Like?
The Saints, their whole secondary, they just talked the whole game.
All of them?
Yeah, all of them.
And do you have anything to say in retort, or since college, are you someone the feet will do the talking?
Nah, I mean, some games I talk, some games I don't. I mean, it's funny when people talk though. I mean, just to be out there interacting with guys. I mean, that's part of the game. So I mean, it's fun.
Devonta Smith with us. He is with us on behalf of Versed. Go to Versed.com to check him out. Is Wawa overrated?
No.
You love it, right? The milkshakes are fantastic.
I think you probably need to tell people, by the way, VRST.com is the men's athletic and lifestyle apparel brand. It launched in March of 2021 with Devonta Smith as the first and only athlete on the brand.
Thank you, Dan. But we were talking milkshakes from.
I know, but if he's here to promote
Wawa,
Versed, and you said something that doesn't have a
You were
vowel in
promoting
it.
Wawa instead.
Yes, you promoted
I
Wawa.
said go to Verse.com. That's what it says
you
here.
can ask your follow-ups about Wawa, but the man wants to talk about Versed as well. So go ahead and ask about Wawa again and ask more elaborate questions.
I just want to know, the Oreo cookie shake from Wawa, for me, is the greatest thing at Wawa. Wawa is an experience, Devonta. Do you agree with me on the shakes, though?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, the shakes they're amazing.
Oh, it's a great shake.
Thank you, Stugotz, for getting to the bottom of it. Tell the people about...
Do you like sandwiches?
We're joined by former MVL Devonta Smith. Devonta, a lot of people say that Wawa is just a gas station. Why are they wrong?
I mean, you can get anything at Wawa. I mean, they have the sandwiches, and I mean, the sandwiches. I like the sandwiches, but the milkshakes is just like, I feel like you won't get a better milkshake outside of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A Oreo shake is really good.
So you will get a better milkshake.
Yeah, you will.
The next place he thought of.
That's all right. What is it that you want people to know about Verse before you get out of here, Devonta?
Verse is versatile. So I mean, you can be casual, you can be comfortable like me with what I have on today. Anything that you're looking for is nice, cool. I mean, it has everything you're looking for.
You like the nickname Slim Reaper? Yes or no?
Yeah, I like it.
Because Kevin Durant did not like it. Do you have a good Nick Saban D's Nut story for us?
No, I don't have one.
Okay, you don't have any.
Have you ever seen him laugh?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Really?
All the time.
After he tells these nuts
Yes, jokes he's
okay.
never heard. And one last question before we get you out of here.
What's the single biggest thing the Ghouls have to do to beat the Rams?
Say it again.
What's the single biggest thing the Ghouls have to do to beat the Rams?
I would say just block up front.
Yep.
I mean, the Rams have a very good defensive line. I think it's going to come down to the Bengals' offensive line. Can they hold up?
Devonta, thank you. It was a lot of fun watching you this season. You promising to dominate? You're going to promise to dominate going forward, correct?
Most definitely.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. Nice talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Billy is facing a major fine here. Jamar Chase was the MVL.
I said former MVL, which means
I don't think he's ever been an MVL.
Yeah, this was his rookie season, Billy.
That's 50.
It's 30.
Devontae Freeman, I think, was the
That's
former.
what it was. Ron Devontae.
Oh, wow. 50.
Yeah.
Too many of them.
I do believe that's probably a fine, though. I do think that
Paid
that
after
would-
Stugotz does. So.
I'll do it after Dan does.
I have paid all my fines. Like again, you keep adding to my fines. My fines have been paid. Your fines have not been paid. You've alleged. You're on the record. I'm wearing a suit next week, and you want big applause
This is the
for
third
it.
straight week he's made this promise.
It was supposed to be this week.
But this week is Super Bowl week. I mean, Bowel week. Right. I don't need to wear the suit this week. It's next week I need to wear the suit because, we'll need something to make fun of, and I'll be here wearing a suit, I don't know. Just making things up. Super Bowl week, Radio Row. We have guests coming on. More. I called Jerry Springer, Maury Povich. Super Bowl week, Radio Row. Ditto. Trivia with Ryan Leaf. Terrible.
I want to end every segment today with Amin's far away from the microphone laugh in the other room. Let's just end the segment and come back in a second. Happy 35th birthday to Michael B. Jordan.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
I was not aware of this until the other day. Mike Ryan loves to snoop out people in entertainment who have had a great deal of work done or fake hair or fake teeth. He's accused Rex Ryan and others on ESPN of having fake teeth. And the Kardashians get a lot of blame for totally changing their appearance and making it very difficult on young girls in an environment where you can physically alter yourself to look like somebody totally different. But go look at some early photos of Michael B. Jordan, because I don't think a lot of people are doing it. I don't know what he did to his jaw, but he did something, I would assume, professionally to his jaw that I did not know. And he's 35 years old, and he looks very much the movie star. He looks perfect.
You know, in my mind, when you said Michael B. Jordan, I was thinking jawline. He just has a perfect, well, not perfect, but he has an incredibly pronounced jawline. Strong chin for Apollo Creed's son.
Air Jordan.
It's fine.
MJ.
It's the wrong Jordan.
How do you know?
I don't think his
How do you
middle
know?
name
Because
is
there's a
B.
Yeah, because Michael Jordan's middle name is Jeffrey.
But how do you know that Michael B. Jordan doesn't refer to himself as MJ?
I guess there's no way for me to know that.
Boom.
He's going to take it from the late John Madden, try and make it his own when he makes dumb points.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, I told you everyone calls him JJ. Yesterday he came on and acknowledged that everyone calls him JJ. I told you that.
You mentioned pronounced jawline. If you've ever seen photographs of James Harden without a beard, it's strange. It's he does not look like somebody that will dominate a basketball game. Maybe I'm just used to him seeing him with Ezekiel's biblical beard, but he is now, according to Brian Windhorst, screaming Stugotz to get to Philadelphia. I don't think that's literal, although I like to imagine that perhaps it is. But the he's just they've lost 9 straight in Brooklyn. The reports are that he's tired of it. Steve Nash says there's no way they're trading him. They're keeping him. They're not going to trade him in the next 2 days. But we go to our basketball experts who are going to give you a live Turd Deadline show 2 to 4 p.m. tomorrow on our YouTube channel.
Brian Windhorst said this morning, I was listening on the way in, where he said, I don't care what you hear out of either camp, that they are talking about trying to get that deal done before the trade deadline. So he said, I don't care what you hear. I don't care what either coach says. That deal is trying to be made by both sides.
Well, let us throw it to our basketball people. You can get all their trade deadline information if anything like this does indeed happen tomorrow between 2 and 4, when we will become a live newsroom that hopefully has a better visual video element than the one we have from the Super Bowl, where I can't tell through the Zoom who's there and if Chris Cody is even there. But let's go to the other room where I can see the people and ask Tom Haberstroh, Amin, and Kate, and perhaps Juju what they think of this report from Brian Windhorst.
I mean, I trust Brian Windhorst reporting over just about anybody in the NBA as far as reporters goes. So I think this is 100% accurate. But my thing is, I am so done with the Brooklyn Nets. This James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant thing, I'm so tired of talking about it. I cannot wait for Thursday at 3:01 so we can be done with this trio that has played 16 games. 16 games.
16 games.
Over 2 years. The Nets have played with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant a possible 125 games, and they have played in 16 of them. I'm going to be so done when this soap opera is over. I hope that James Harden is traded, like right now, because I'm so tired of talking about this trio that everyone thinks is going to win the championship when they played 16 games.
Yeah, and you know, the crazy thing is if they end up trading him, remember they gave up Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Taurean Prince, the option to swap 2021 first-round picks, which they ended up doing, the 2022 first-round pick, an option to swap 2023 first-round pick, the 2024 first-round pick, the option to swap 2025 first-round picks, the 2026 first-round pick, and the option to swap 2027 first-round picks and cash. So he do all of that for this guy who plays basically a calendar year and some change, and ends up getting traded for the guy who didn't want to shoot in Game 7.
Am I crazy to think that this story in a couple months' time, if Harden does move to the Sixers, there are going to be dozens of articles about tampering? Because something like this, of this magnitude, that's a little unexpected given the championship window that the Brooklyn Nets are in. You don't see a trade of this magnitude from contender to other contender inside the conference. There has to be so much back channeling going on right now between James Harden and specifically, like, why the Sixers? Why specifically the Sixers? The Morey stuff makes sense, but I think when people start peeling back the layers on this, the wheels were more in motion on this deal far sooner than we heard about it.
But Mike, the problem with tampering, in essence, is how do you prove it? How do you prove it? If you're careful enough as a front office, right, in terms of devices used and methods of communication, they can never prove it. That's why, like this summer when the Heat and the Bulls both got in trouble, they didn't get in trouble because there was a smoking gun, a text message that was sent that was uncovered, or a conversation. They got uncovered because they announced the sign and trade at like 6:01 when the deadline was 6 p.m. So the idea that someone could not only come to terms with a free agent, but also come to terms with a trade with another team, that tells us that was impossible to do in 60 seconds. So without that circumstance right there that says, no, there's no way you guys did this without tampering, how do you ever prove it?
And to your point, the NBA actually never proved tampering with the Bulls and the Miami Heat. Tampering is when you tamper directly with the person that is traded. They got in trouble for tampering with his camp. And if you remember, there were all sorts of Kyle Lowry to Miami Heat trade rumors at last year's deadline, right, and that trade was never finalized. You got to imagine lines of communication and what is your commitment to the Heat organization? How do you see yourself fit here? All that started months prior.
I don't know if you guys experience what we're witnessing this way or not, but to me, just symbolically, when you look at the last 12 years of LeBron James being the country's most dominant athlete and advocating for more power, I believed before now the greatest distortion and dilution of that threatens after 12 years all these GMs and all the power in the league was this team of trolls assembling together to play for Brooklyn. But I think that now the greatest indictment, if you want to indict the idea that basketball has given too much power to his stars, is Harden for Simmons. Harden for Simmons is like the evolution of the player empowerment age that would scare the holy hell out of everyone who's ever run a team in any sport, that these two guys can have, that they could exert this much power over their organizations and both of them be volatile subject matter.
Can I just share something that just happened to me here at work? I was scrolling through Twitter for news and I pulled my phone away embarrassed because something not suitable for work showed up and it was an Adidas ad.
Yeah.
It's titties. It's just boobs.
There's an Adidas ad on Twitter that I totally stunned me. Not what I expected. There's just several rows of bare breasts, and it's very provocative, and they're obviously going for something there, but I wasn't given a heads up on this.
The copy reads, "We believe women's breasts in all shapes and sizes deserve support and comfort, which is why our new sports bra range contains 43 styles so everyone can find the right fit for them."
I believe it too. Yeah.
That is the applause of Juju off microphone. Also, Kate went straight for her phone to find out about this advertising campaign. More details about the advertising campaign.
Intrepid social media reporter.
I was texting Jess. I texted her Tactical Bra, which is a sketch we did on Off the Looking Glass, which is a magazine-style podcast on the LeBatard network that comes in through the side door of joy and humor to tell the story of women's sports.
Well done, Kate.
Thank you.
Refreshing to hear that room have a podcast promo that didn't make me want to throw up immediately.
What's that supposed to mean?
Tom, we interrupted you. You were about to say something about James Harden, and I interrupted you.
Well, isn't James Harden sponsored by Adidas?
Transition.
Isn't James Harden a boob?
Wow, that was good.
Well,
Man,
think
we're
about
on a
this.
roll.
Does anyone want to play with James Harden? We just watched James Harden break up with KD again, right? Or supposedly, according to Brian Windhurst, wants screaming to get out of there. Kyrie Irving, okay. Dwight Howard,
Chris
Paul, Russell Westbrook twice.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to play with James Harden? Are we really feeling that Joel Embiid is going to be happy about this partnership?
Tom, you're asking the wrong question. It's not does anyone want to play with James Harden. It's does James Harden want to play with anybody? That's the question, because he's the one that's leaving. He's not driving them away.
But please, as our experts, as the guys that we're going to tomorrow, I don't know if Renee will be participating in tomorrow's trade deadline stuff as well, but perhaps you guys can explain to me whether James Harden can be MVP James Harden without the maximum usage rate. Because as the third guy, I saw them fail Oklahoma City. I saw him not be very good as the third guy, as a young player.
Let's not do that. Hold on. Let's not do that. You saw him not be good in the NBA Finals, but the first 3 rounds, he was sensational. And by the way, that conference finals against the Spurs, they don't win it if James Harden doesn't play as well as he does.
Forgive me. I'll walk that back. But MVP James Harden is only MVP James Harden when he's got the ball all the time and there are no other teammates. So when you say the question, does he want to play with anybody, I ask you, is it possible for James Harden to be a third player on any team? Or does his usage rate for him to be what we expect him to be, does it have to be Durant's, or does he have to be can he be with Embiid? That seems like a perfect combination to me, inside, outside, much better than Embiid and Ben Simmons. But am I wrong? Can James Harden be all that he was anymore at this age with this injury history if he's not holding the ball all the time?
Right. What we're talking about here is Joel Embiid is an MVP candidate, might be the favorite for MVP, partly because he has shown a greater ability to distribute and facilitate. And now you're going to bring in the most ball-dominant guy in the NBA to play next to him. Secondly, he's 32 years old. He's missed a third of his games with Brooklyn because of hamstring issues. And you're going to possibly extend him to the max? Daryl Morey has a very interesting decision to make. If he acquires James Harden, likely going to have to max him out over the next several years to a contract that's going to pay him over $60 million when he's 37 years old. That's what you're acquiring. You're not acquiring MVP James Harden from a few years ago. You're acquiring a dude who's missed a third of his games because of hamstring issues, has already had playoff issues, production of staying in shape and getting that production round after round. And you're going to be extending him until he's 37 years old.
Yeah, but Tom, you're trading a guy who hasn't played any games. So, I mean, and James Harden, you have Ben Simmons there. He's an asset, and he's not playing and doesn't want to play, and they don't want him to play. So why not trade him for something and get James Harden back? I understand what you're saying about the age, but that seems like a pretty good pairing. Harden and Embiid. That seems like something that could win a title.
But you love names. You thought Russell Westbrook to the Lakers was a good pairing just because you like stacking names upon names, and you once had the Miami Heat of LeBron, Bosh, and Wade playing with a 50-year-old Scottie Pippen.
And they would have won. I mean, but I don't understand what we're doing here. The Ben Simmons isn't playing any games. James Harden wants to play basketball, wants to play with Joel Embiid.
Stugotz, I think you have a point there in that they're trading away somebody who's not part of their program, who has refused to be part of the program, will never be part of their program, for a guy who, whatever you say, he's still really, really, really good right now.
Yes.
He may not be MVP caliber, but he's damn close. And the big thing is he's not going to be the third best player here, Dan. He's going to be the second best player on this team. And we saw him when he got to Brooklyn last year before everything kind of fell apart and he had to play a bunch of games as the only guy out there because both Kyrie and KD were hurt, that he was really good at facilitating and scaling back. I think you guys put a lot of kind of ego on the way James Harden played in Houston, and I don't think he's carrying that with him. I think he sees an opportunity in Philadelphia where it's a perfect combo. One guy's inside, one guy's outside. One guy creates, one guy finishes, and I think there's a lot there. Now, what Tom is talking about is very real. This is a guy that for years played 82 games or damn close when everyone else was load managing. This is a guy for years was playing 38, 39 minutes a game when everyone else was playing less minutes. And he's got a lot of wear and tear on him, and it's a guy who doesn't take care of his body. He's not like LeBron spending 7 figures on, health and wellness. He's probably spending 7 figures on something else that does the opposite, right, to his body. So when you take all that added up and say, and his age, there is a risk of, hey, in a couple of years, this dude might be just broken down because he also plays a very physical, taxing style of basketball. But here's the reality, Tom. This is why I think Daryl does it, because they're looking at Embiid and say the window is now. Don't bother me about when he's 37. Right now, our guy's playing the best basketball in the league, and we're helping him out with Seth Curry and Tobias Harris when we could have an all-NBA caliber, all-star caliber player here helping him out. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you're really threading the needle by Joel Embiid, who's already shown that he's had injury issues at the start of his career, which seem to be largely solved. But you're doubling down on that risk by getting James Harden, who's 32 years old and might be playing like he's 34, 35. So you're doubling down on something where it's already risky to build a franchise around a center who has had those issues. And then you're going to go out and get another risky injury-prone player going forward.
But you know, Daryl's theory is always about it's stars. Stars win in this league. Stars, every team that's won has had 2 stars, other than I think the 94 Rockets or maybe the 2004 Pistons, if you want to say they didn't really have superstars. They just had a bunch of really good players. So that's Daryl's MO. He says, if I'm going to trade this guy, I have a list of 30 players in the league who satisfy that criteria. Now, of those 30 guys, first of all, how many of them are available?
Right.
That's one. And then 2, more importantly, how many do I have a working knowledge of behind the scenes? It's not sight unseen. I'm not kind of going to get buyer's remorse. I know who I'm acquiring because I was with him for years and years in Houston.
But that's what bit Brooklyn. His KD was like, no, I've got James Harden. I play with James Harden.
Sure.
Trust me, we got this. And now James Harden, a year into this experiment, wants out.
Well, I think because the thing that they thought they were getting into in Brooklyn hasn't happened, which is the 3 of us playing together. They played 16 games in 2 years, right? And he's looking around and he's saying, I'm basically doing all the heavy lifting. Remember, there was that quote that came out last year that he had to Steph Curry years and years earlier about, I wish we played like you guys. He said that when he was on the Rockets winning an MVP, finishing top 5 in MVP voting, he's looking at Steph Curry and he tells him at the All-Star game, I wish we played like you because I don't want to have this burden every year to do everything. So he came to Brooklyn thinking the burden would be lessened, but what's happened because of injury and because of the lack of availability of Kyrie Irving, he's saying, I can't do this. He's going home to Michelle, Sasha, and Malia.
For the love of God.
What happened?
All right, we're going to get to Kurt Warner in a second. We don't need to hear Obama's analysis of this.
Sports, though. I
It
mean,
was a lot of
listen,
sports.
it's Super Bowl week, Radio Row, a basketball conversation breaks out.
yes.
I called Jerry Springer, Maury Povich. We can't find Kurt Warner. Super Bowl Radio week.
Let's turn this into the comment section of Rotten Tomatoes. Yes or no, Tom Haberstroh, Harden and Embiid together, favorite in the East? Yes or no?
No, as long as Miami and Milwaukee are still on this planet, no.
I left out San Diego State. They have a new stadium, Dan. Super Bowl week.
Amin, yes or no? They get Harden and Embiid together, Philadelphia East favorite.
I echo the sentiments of Mr. Haberstroh.
Oh, that's no fun.
I'm sorry. Well, Dan, you're asking questions. Have obvious answers.
Okay, get him out of here.
Everyone calls Jefferson JJ. I mean, Super Bowl week radio now. It's a big week. Where's Kurt Warner?
1 point here. Mike Ryan, speaking into my headset, said, go to the doofus.
How's it going, guys? Listen, Tom Haberstroh, Sweet Lance needs to be performed tomorrow on YouTube. I just need that to happen. I didn't know Kenny Mayne would be a guy that could rock thong sandals. That's an upset for me.
Not surprised.
He pulls
by
it
this.
off.
Yeah, not surprised at all.
You call them thong sandals, not flip flops?
Nah, I mean, flip-flops can, yeah, maybe. I call them thong sandals.
Oh, man.
Vandals.
Yes. How we doing, guys? The vibe is so much better in this room than it was an hour ago, by the way.
Yeah.
Smells good in here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because Danny Cannell's over there, or
Danny Cannell's here. Pat McAfee's here. Kurt Warner's not here.
where is he?
With McAfee.
Paint the scene. Take us. I hear the ambient noise. You're getting us close. It's the middle of the week. We're getting to what my father is calling
Drink
a
it in.
shitty Super Bowl.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, Chris is giving me a tour of Radio Row later. Super
Steve
Bowl
Smith,
week.
I see. Oh, my God. Where's Kyle Brandt? I wanted to shotgun a beer with Kyle Brandt. We haven't found him yet.
Wait, which Steve Smith?
The former receiver. Well,
Which
there's two
one?
of them. Actually,
Yeah.
there's multiple.
Giants,
the
Carolina.
Very common
Panthers,
name.
The guy who's a tough guy.
There are several Steve Smiths to choose from. What other? We sent you out to the Super Bowl to just gawk at celebrities and be awed, Chris.
Well, create content. Wait till you guys see what we have coming for you guys in the next coming days. Whew!
You keep telling me about what you got coming up for me and not
Came
doing
into
so
stuff.
much in the
Tomorrow's
present.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's pretty late in the week. It's hump day.
I don't trust us to do anything because as soon as Kate flies in to do the shooting challenge with Tony, he follows you to sit outside the media row, the radio row to sit outside because you guys can't get credentialed. Like, I don't trust us to plan or execute anything successfully. Kate's in town to do the shooting challenge. Tony's not here. He's about as geographically far as you could be while remaining in the contiguous United States.
Oh man, Kurt Warner is better looking in person than I even thought.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
Is he there?
He's got a beard
I mean, I knew he
now,
was
like a
good
full
looking,
one.
but Jesus.
Like he let it grow for 2 days.
Yeah. All right. We got a clear room. He's coming up.
Were any of you surprised by the Lovie Smith Santa beard? He's been rocking it for a few years, and yet I'm still surprised every time I see it.
I like it. I like beards in general. I think Mike's bald head would look better if he had a beard.
Agreed.
Yeah, I've been
Still
trying
haven't
to
seen
grow
his
it out.
bald head, actually. But
Nope.
And you won't. Wow. Kurt Warner, taller than Chris Cody. Not sure why that surprises me.
I don't
He
think
played quarterback in
I
the
don't-
NFL, Mike.
I like this 2-shot right now. Stay in that frame, Chris Cody.
So did Doug Flutie.
I do not believe we have talked enough about this Adidas ad. Perhaps we should do so with the most publicly faithful person.
No.
No, you don't have
That's
to
a
do that. You
terrible
don't have to do
idea.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
man. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Stay
man.
away.
I don't
Stop
think that's what he's
playing.
promoting
Stop
either.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ask him what he's
Legend,
promoting.
Kurt Warner.
He's here for
This is
TiVo, Dan.
This is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
You want to say hello to the legend?
We love staring at Kurt Warner. We make him uncomfortable every time he comes on by saying his beard grows to full length in 6 minutes. Your metabolism, your testosterone, your health, they seem to be impeccable the way that your hair grows on your face. Thank you for joining us, Kurt. Always good talking to you.
I haven't had that kind of introduction in a while, so I appreciate it. That's some good stuff there. But the wife likes it, so that is always a plus.
I need a controversial statement from you, so please just say that your Rams team is better than this one.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, definitely. I think we had a great team. This team's great. This team's got a bunch of superstars. I'm not going to give you that. You got plenty of people that'll come on here and give you a controversial statement.
You already gave it to me.
I am not that guy.
I already got it.
Greatest show on turf.
I already got it. You were the greatest show
the
on turf.
greatest
They
show
don't.
on turf, no doubt. I mean, I'm going to argue that that's one of the greatest teams that's ever played this game. So,
Yes.
that one's easy.
In your heart, Ram or Cardinal? Like you have to choose.
He's a Ram.
You have to. Yeah. You have to. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
Why do I have to choose?
You have to.
No, you have to.
Why are you making me
Sports
choose?
radio,
Like,
Kurt.
For the longest time, when people were talking about going into the Hall of Fame, like in baseball, you have a cap on, so you have to choose a team to go into the Hall of Fame, and so everybody would always ask me, okay, going into the Hall of Fame, are you going in as a Ram or a Cardinal? The beautiful thing about the Hall of Fame is that you go in as a football player. You don't wear a helmet. You don't have to worry about that. So I'm not letting you guys get me in trouble. I'm in trouble, a number of times every year when the Rams and Cardinals play, and I've got to pick one of them on our show, and then the other fan base hates me, and they think that I'm mad. It's unbelievable. I got a special place in my heart for both of them. I appreciate both of them. So I am not going to answer your question on where I'm more connected.
How about the Giants? The G-Men. Big Blue.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Giants. Even though I love my year there. I love my time there.
We got you.
But it's definitely not the Giants.
Okay, so we may not be able to get you to go into the Hall of Fame as a Cardinal or a Ram, but we got you to not go in as a Giant.
Yeah, definitely not going in as a Giant.
would you say in the Hall of Fame the name on the back is more important than the name on the front?
No, I wouldn't say that. But obviously you go in as an individual, and so of course the name on the back means something. But that's the reason why you can't pick one squad over the other, because I don't think I'm in the Hall of Fame without the Rams and the Cardinals. Without both chapters to my story and all the teammates and both organizations giving me the opportunity that they did. And so to me, the front was just as important
No.
as the
No.
bat
No.
and,
See,
and all the
her word.
players. And so,
No.
yeah,
You're playing
and
both
that's-
sides.
No, you're wrong.
Well, I
You're
have
wrong.
to. I
No,
mean,
you don't
come
have
on.
to.
You guys can't say, well, he's a Hall of Famer just
No.
as a Ram, because that's not the case. There's no way. So that's why, I got allegiance to both of them. There's a special place for both of them.
You are playing both sides.
Yeah.
Both sides.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. But I did, and I needed both sides. So you can't argue with that. Come on.
I want to know if in your sleep, because you guys play these close games, and the difference between winning and losing sometimes in that sport, as we've seen the last few weeks, is just nothing. Are you haunted in any way, woken up in your sleep by Santonio Holmes or anything in that game that was the play difference between, a yard and James Harrison doesn't score a touchdown before the half?
Well, I have to see that every single year at this time over and over and over again. So yes, I wish I could play out that moment a little bit differently, but ironically enough, I really wouldn't change a whole lot about that Super Bowl against the Steelers. The Super Bowl that I think about more than any others was the one to the Patriots, where we were the 2 touchdown favorites. We were supposed to win, and we just didn't play our best football game that day. I thought the Cardinals Super Bowl, we gave ourselves a chance to win. We played a good football game outside of that one mistake that I made, that I left that game going, I can live with this. I can live with the performance that we put out there. That Patriots game, we did not put our best foot forward. We just talked about, I argue that was one of the best, if not the best team, especially offense in the history of the game. And we didn't play like it on that Super Bowl Sunday. And so that's the game, more than any others, that probably haunt me, that I would like to go back and do it again. Win or lose, you just want to do it again, and you want to play your best in the biggest moment, and I don't believe our team did that on that Sunday.
Doofus, what does he smell like? What does Kurt?
Oh my God, fantastic! Did you
Yeah.
see me?
Yes.
Was I making a face? Because I swear to God, I was just thinking how great he smells. I was like, oh my God!
All right, I like this show. I smell good.
Kurt,
I
how does
look good.
Doofus smell?
Everybody likes my beard. I can't speak on that. I'm going to play the fence on that one too.
Jesus, you're a coward. You're a coward. You're on here on behalf of TiVo, but what do you smell like?
I don't know what I smell like. I obviously just smell good. So
Doofus,
but I don't
give him
know.
a smell.
I don't really have anything special on that's that I smell like. I don't think. I just my natural nice.
You smell like the Hall of Fame.
You smell like
Yeah.
a winner.
Yeah. Musk.
You just smell like winning.
Oh gosh, so funny.
TiVo, tell us what it is that you want us to know about TiVo.
All right. Well, you guys all know that the world is all about streaming now. Streaming from all these different platforms. And my wife is the big streamer in our family. All these movies and TV shows that she wants me to sit down and watch with her. But inevitably, every time I sit down to watch, it takes her like 10 minutes to navigate and go, okay, was it on this platform or was it on that platform? And she can't find it. So TiVo created the TiVo Stream 4K. One device connected to your TV, and all of your streaming platforms will be housed under one search engine. So you want to go see a football movie, for instance, like you want to go see American Underdog, you just type
for the
that
love
in the
of
search
God.
engine,
For the
and
love of
boom,
God.
it'll pull up from whatever
What a
streaming
joke.
platform has that. If you like football movies, it will give you suggestions from all
Amazing.
those different platforms. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. Easy to use. You don't have to navigate. You don't have to waste time, and you can find all the best stuff. You can go to TiVo.com. You can go to Amazon to find the TiVo Stream 4K.
You aren't here to plug American Underdog. You're playing both sides.
Yes, you keep
I
playing
am.
That
I'm
was a
plugging
Hall of
both.
Fame
I'm
plug,
plugging
though. I
TiVo.
mean,
I'm
come
plugging
on.
American Underdog. Have you guys seen the movie yet? Come on.
Great.
We asked Marshall Falk to give us an honest assessment, and he did. He said he liked the movie.
Well, I'm asking you guys. Have you guys seen it yet?
Well, I have seen the trailer
Major
for it.
Oscar snub.
Oh, see, come on. You're supposed to watch the movie before you have me on.
You're
Anybody-
here.
anybody-
I used
anybody?
TiVo before having you on.
Okay,
Well
so
played,
you're playing
LeBatard.
one side of the fence. I need the other side. I need you to
side.
go check it out because the trailer doesn't tell the whole story. It's actually, the response has been really, really good. The movie is really good. It touches people in a lot of different ways. So you got to go check it out.
What's the single biggest thing the Bengals have to do to beat the Rams?
the single biggest thing that they have to do. I believe they're going to have to. I mean, it's cliche, but protect the football first. You can't make it easy on the Rams, but I think they're going to have to take it away. I think their defense has really been the unsung hero in the playoffs. We talk about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all these great weapons offensively. I believe it's been their defense that has really stood out in the playoffs, and I believe their defense is going to have a great performance, and just like they've done in the playoff games, you're going to have to take the football away.
Kurt, thank you. Always good catching up with you. You look great. You smell great. You are great. Thank you, sir.
A show like none others. Thank you guys for having me on.
See you, Kurt.